What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports, and you're watching our Big 12 football channel.
Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Time to talk Texas. We've got Andrew Miller on the line from Hook'em Headlines. It's on the fan-sided network for Texas Longhorns coverage. Andrew, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Appreciate you coming on. Texas, of course, creating quite a buzz following a trip to the Big 12 championship game and the Sugar Bowl win. I guess before we dive into 2019, to put the 2018 season into perspective, the misstep in the championship game, but playing really well up until the last 4 or 5 minutes of the game after beating Oklahoma in the regular season and then pulling off an upset in the Sugar Bowl. Kind of your context on what happened in 2018.
2018 was an interesting season for them. Obviously, a lot of close calls. OU could have gone either way. West Virginia didn't go in their favor. Those were a couple of big games, kind of left their season hanging in the balance. But I think the Sugar Bowl was the perfect note for them to end on. Obviously, the Longhorns hype train's always pretty heavy throughout each and every offseason. I think this is the first one in a while, though, where there's some billing to the hype that they have, both for winning the Big 12 and possibly contending for the college football playoff this year. The quarterback situation's finally ironed out as long as Ellinger can stay healthy. I think it was a big year. They have a lot to improve upon, lose a lot on the defensive side of the ball especially, but some to replace on offense too. But 2018 was a good step for Herman and the Longhorns both.
Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, talking Texas. We've got Andrew Miller on the line from Hook'em Headlines. Please join him and the rest of the staff right there on the fan-sided network for Texas football coverage with the spring game coming up this Saturday, April 13th. We mentioned the success of 2018. Obviously, that was bolstered by Tom Herman's arrival. Recruiting had always been good, even under Charlie Strong, but just now top 5 type status with some great recruiting classes. That looks to continue. Zachary Evans, very much on the radar, a guy that you're tracking. Talk specifically about who's out there and who's recently named to Texas as one of the finalists.
So I think 2 guys to really watch, and mention this in something I was writing about yesterday. Coby Pryor, three-star kid coming out of Georgia. They got a running back from Georgia for the 2018 class, Darien Brown. He's been going through some medical issues of his own, but I think that it's a name to watch. Coby Pryor certainly would add a different dynamic, more of a big back. Definitely runs between the tackles well. Another one that I like, Washington State native, Sam Adams II. He also named Texas as one of his few Big 12 schools among his finalists. He's a 4-star kid, top 15 running back in the nation. He's for 247. Obviously, watching Zachary Evans, Kendall Milton, the 2 top running backs in the nation, both taking a few visits to Texas, show some interest. But Evans I think he's the big get here, one to follow during the offseason.
We're talking up Texas on Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Please help us build the channel as we deliver the best in discussion, debate, and analysis. Like the videos, comment, share the videos, and, of course, subscribe. Right here, we got Andrew Miller on the line talking Texas. Hook'em Headlines is his site. And injuries are part of spring football, part of football, period. And even though you try to protect the kids during this time and make it a little bit light, most of the time they do have 3 scrimmages, full contact or close to it, including the spring game. So guys get nicked up. But Texas seems to be suffering a little bit more serious injuries than most programs.
Yeah, Gabriel Floyd's the big one there. Spinal stenosis diagnosis that came down just a few days ago. He'll miss the entirety of the 2019 season. He was a guy that the Longhorns would hope come in right away, compete for some playing time, challenge Ayodele Adewe for one of the starting linebacker spots. So that's probably the most severe of the bunch, but that wasn't from spring ball. That was from his time out Westlake in California. BJ Foster was a big one, but they should get him back for the spring game. He was going through concussion protocol from some full pads practice injury that he had. Caden Stearns, I think, would be a big one to watch moving forward. Never good to have lingering knee injuries that kind of gone under the radar a little bit. He missed some time during the Big 12 title game and the Sugar Bowl from this, and he still had to undergo another knee surgery. I don't know if he had to get knee surgery before. I think he elected to forego that, but he had to finally go ahead and do it, and I know that he kind of faded down the stretch, so that's for how talented he is, that's a big one to watch moving forward.
Andrew, we're just a few days away from the spring game. Fans get hyped up to see football, and I understand that. I do as well. Then I catch about 3 plays and realize, okay, this isn't real football. You got to take it into context. Some things mean something, other things you got to completely disregard. As you approach the spring game with Texas, what are some of those key positions and players that you're going to be keeping your eye on?
I think the distribution of the carries for running backs is going to be big. They've been trying out Jordan Whittington, really talented 5-star wide receiver signee that looks like he could get a pretty heavy workload with Keontae Ingram out of the backfield. I think the running back rotation is going to be a big thing. Backup quarterback play. Ellinger obviously has a long injury history. Casey Thompson and Rashawn Johnson, the 2 backups, have no game experience to date. So seeing how they do with that. On the defensive side of the ball, I think it's going to be big to see how the cornerbacks match up with such a deep and talented wide receiver class. They lost both of their starting cornerbacks from last year. And then also seeing Brew McCoy and Jordan Whittington in action. I think a lot of people are interested to see what they bring to the table this year.
Andrew, I know you touched on a lot of guys there. Anyone else or 2 or 3 players in particular that may be not necessarily on the radar because they were redshirted or weren't a high recruit, somebody like that you've read up on, seen some maybe video of maybe in high school or maybe on the cusp of breaking out, some possible breakout players?
Yeah, and this one, he's been around for a while. I believe he'll be going into his 5th year now with the Longhorns. But Kirk Johnson, who has gotten very limited work, had some injury issues. Brother of Colin Johnson, he's been getting work in the running back rotation. A name that most Longhorn fans probably know, but just general college football fans probably don't. He could be a big one to watch this year. I think it's important to see what Coby Boyce does. He was a smaller cornerback for the Horns last year, 3-star recruit, and honestly didn't do so well in his playing time last year, but he could end up in a starting role this year. I think another big one to watch from the DN position. He is a 4-star guy, but kind of flown under the radar lately. DN Taquan Graham, he'll likely be a starter this year. If not, he will get significant playing time. Former 4-star kid, but in terms of like a Charles Omenihu type rise at the DN spot, my pick would be Taquan Graham.
Thank you for watching this video. If you're a Big 12 football fan, please subscribe to the channel. As always, leave your comments down below. We always like to hear from you. And for the latest in Big 12 football, keep it right here.